Welcome, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to today's program of Bellingham City Club. And I'm very gratified to see the room full with so many people interested in today's topic, as well as just networking and community and sharing and conversation. So it's very heartwarming to see all of you here today. My name is Allison Roberts, and I am president of the board of Bellingham City Club. And I'm excited to be here today. Oh, thanks. It feels like an eternity since I last saw all of you in November. Time is traveling pretty fast and a lot's going on the national stage. So it's always nice to get together with people who just can sit down and share food and conversation. So I hope that you've been able to do that during this time. So today we have 4 panelists who are going to be talking about food insecurity in Whatcom County. And the speakers have been listed up on our new PowerPoint. And they represent folks from the Bellingham Food Bank, Bellingham Public Schools, and Jane, the other one? Oh, the Whatcom Council on Aging. So we're really happy that they volunteered their time to be here today to share information with all of us. And with a show of hands, I am very curious to find out how many of you actually work or volunteer in this realm of food security in Whatcom County. Can you just raise your hands? That kind of helps our speakers too, to sort of see what the audience is and get a feel for it. Thank you all for what you do in our community. We've switched it up a little bit by having our PowerPoint go, and it's acknowledging all of our sponsors who make our programming possible, and they show their support through various levels of sponsorship. If you're with an organization that doesn't appear up here and you'd like to support Bellingham City Club, we invite you to reach out to the folks at the table there, or come talk to me, or our past president, Jim Britton, who just raised his hand. We'd love to have your support, and we welcome all of those that do take this opportunity. I'd also like to thank those that make this possible. Talking to Crows, our videographers do a wonderful job, and those videos appear on our website about a week from today, and I encourage you to send those to your friends. This is a really important topic, as all of ours are, but share it to friends, because then they can, if they can't be here, watch that video in its entirety for free. One of the services that Bellingham City Club provides to our community. I'd also like to thank our program committee that works months in advance to bring these programs to you and to recruit speakers on issues that we think are important to us. But we also want to hear from you. So on the tables are some surveys. There's not enough for everybody here, but David's holding one up there. They're white. It'll take a little bit of time, but we really appreciate your input, because you can tell us topics that you want to hear about. You can share information and feedback about this venue and the food. You can also give us a little bit of demographic information so that we know who our audience is. And so if you wouldn't mind taking time to fill that out, and once you're done, just fold it in half and leave it on the table, and we'll pick it up at the end of the program. One thing I always forget is to turn off my cell phone, and then it goes off during a meeting. So if you wouldn't mind, just please silencing your cell phones. And if something does ring, everybody's going to look at you, so it'll be rather embarrassing. So if you'll do it now, that would be great. One of the things I wanted to touch on today was that the board has been taking a look at a lot of different issues. Our new website, thanks to the efforts of several people on the board, go and take a look at it. It's really looking nice. And we also have taken a look at our budget. And so we've done a little bit of raising of dues. Hopefully this isn't too onerous for anyone in the room. And for non-members who are purchasing a meal, the price has gone up to $35 because our costs are going up as well. And for those that come here just for program committee, it's $15 instead of $10. So that pricing structure also encourages you to become a member, which is my next pitch. Please join the Bellingham City Club, if you will. It's $60 for individuals, or for a household of two, it's $100 a year. So that's quite competitive with other groups. So without much further ado, I would like to get our program started. And I don't think, do I hand it off to you, Jane or Jane? The two Janes. All right, Jane's coming up to the lectern here. Thank you, Jane.
Hi, it is good to see a full room. Thank you for coming. Food insecurity. It affects approximately, that's nice. Thank you. Yeah. It affects approximately 25% of Whatcom County residents, a number that has risen significantly due to inflation, the end of the pandemic area benefits, the high cost of living here in Bellingham. Over 5,000 households weekly rely on the food bank. That's just the Bellingham Food Bank, which has experienced a record demand at the same time as the federal government, as we all know, is cutting funds. In Whatcom County, 38% of the households make enough money to be just above the federal poverty guidelines, which is $30,000 for a family of four. Haven't been updated for a while. Data analyzed by United Way of Bellingham says that a family of four with two working parents and two children in daycare needs over $119,000 to live in Bellingham. Daycare is expensive, as we all know. Food, housing, transportation, and childhood, these are all basic needs that money needs to be to carry those. Study shows this affects people in communities in many ways. Adults facing hunger have a 4% higher risk of heart disease, higher levels of depression and anxiety. The impact of children affects their academic careers, lower rates in math and reading to more frequent absenteeism. Today, we have 3 agencies representing the county network of food providers who are working to alleviate this situation. We're going to skip long bios because I want them to have more time to speak. And so our first, we have Stephanie Sisson, Outreach Director of the Bellingham Food Bank, followed by Chris Orr, who is the Executive Director of the Council on Aging. And lastly, from the Bellingham School District, we have Lindsay Aherm, who's the Director of Food Operations, and Isabel Meeker, who's the Executive Director of Family Engagement. So we'll take audience questions, but after everybody has a chance, after we hear all the presentations. So welcome to our guest, and we're going to start with Stephanie.
Right. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Jane, for such a lovely introduction here. My name is Stephanie again, and I am the outreach coordinator for the Bellingham Food Bank. I've been working there for about 3 years now. And the food bank's been around for over 50. So we've been around since 1972. So we have a long history, and I'll do my best to cover as much information as I can for you today. I really hope that we can go over some of the insights that we see on the ground from the community, and also to help you understand how you can deepen your involvement with us. We have so many people, like I see volunteers in this room, I see people that donate. So I know that we have tons of people that shop, donate, volunteer on a regular basis. So if you want to learn more about how to work more deeply with us, please schedule a tour with me. I won't be able to go as deep as I like to in 15 minutes, but I am more than happy to talk with you about the food bank and give you a tour of our facility. So please sign up with that afterwards if you'd like. This basically is what the inside of our grocery store looks like. And to make sure we're on the same page, I like to go over what we do. So we give out free food to people in our community that are struggling with food insecurity. We do that in 3 ways. We have a free grocery program that's open 3 days a week for 8 hours each day. And it's basically a store that you go into. You don't have to pay for the food, but you can pick up what you need for your family. And every single day that we are open, including today, we can expect about 1,200 families to come through that door physically. And so that's what we are prepared for in the amount of food that we have ready, stocked, and the amount of labor to keep that food running through the food bank on a consistent basis so that if somebody walks in the morning or in the evening, there's the same beautiful display of food available. That is a huge access point for food in our community, if not the largest one. And yet there are still many people that cannot access food from the grocery store. So we also have a drive-through, and this really started in COVID, but it serves people that cannot shop in person for whatever reason. Maybe they're disabled, maybe they don't have the time. It takes about 10 minutes to come by and pick up a pre-packed box of food from our alley every single Tuesday. This program serves about 300 or so people that consistently sign up for it. And then last but not least, we have our home delivery program. This program is very large. It goes throughout the majority of Whatcom County, and it serves about 900 families every single Friday. We have volunteers that hand deliver these boxes of pre-packed food to people's doorsteps on a regular basis. And right now this program is full. This is from our website. So if you were to sign up to use our programming, this is how we would describe it to you. And the home delivery program is a huge program because there are so many people in our community that are so isolated because they are elderly, disabled, and they don't have transportation. And so that program really expanded into the county during the floods of 2021 after COVID. So we had the boxes set up to serve people, and then we had the call out into the county. So that is basically our 3 main programs and what we do all together. Again, just as Jane had said, that's about 5,000 household visits every single week that we are prepared for. Let's see. What can you get when you come to the food bank? So we focus on having high quality and desirable food. The best people to know what that is are the people who shop at the food bank. We ask them, what do you want? What people say, we want vegetables. We want meat. We want eggs. We want fruit. We want gluten-free options. So that's what we serve. So most of the food that we give out are fresh fruits and vegetables that are purchased from wholesalers or fresh from the farm. And we give out about 10 to 14 different types of produce every single day on rotation of cultural relevancy or the type of produce that's there. And then we also have frozen meat, we have milk, we have eggs. We try to always have enough eggs for every single household. We also have diapers and baby formula, and we have menstrual products as well, so like pads and tampons. We'll have bread, all kinds of food as well. But we focus on that vegetables and lean protein because that's what everybody asks for. Okay, so I did mention that 1,200 households and the 5,000 in a week, right? And I want to be very clear. Sometimes when we say big numbers, we lose a sense of scale because you hear big numbers all the time, right? And I want everyone to know that this is not normal. So this is a map of or a chart of our client visits over time. So like I said, we have over a 50-year history in Bellingham. So if you can imagine that chart extending down, it's going to be tapering down lower and lower and lower. On this side of things, you can see it ends in 2003. right there at the top, it was in 2003, it was hitting about 600,000 client visits a year. This last year, we almost hit 700,000. Last year, like 2024, we were over 700,000. So really, that really just goes to show this huge increase. People always like to ask, like, how, why? And that's a really long conversation I cannot get into. But as Jane mentioned, if you go to the United Way data on the number of people who live month to month in our community, they have a chart that looks exactly like this. So I think that's really the easiest explanation. We serve food insecure people. That is our demographic. And food insecure people are people that at the end of the month, after they paid their rent, after they paid their medical bills, after they paid their childcare, they don't have enough for the food to feed their family. Of the 44,000 individuals, 44,452, there we go. Of those individuals, about half are not working age. They are children and they are seniors. And the other half are going to be the caretakers and breadwinners of the family. So that's a lot of children and a lot of seniors and a lot of breadwinners out there. And altogether, we are serving about 45% of the city of Bellingham's population, or you can look at it countywide, and that's about 20% of the county. So all of this information, what I want you to take away is not only the demographic of people shopping at the food bank, but also how this impacts the way the food bank functions. A traditional food bank, what you're going to be looking at is what kind of food can we get that was intended to go to the dumpster? What kind of food can we get that we can rescue to save the food that would have been thrown away? And that model, well, I'm not here to say anything negative about that model, because there are many people where that is like a lively, like that saves their life to have that food, okay? But it doesn't serve people on this scale. And so I really want to illustrate the fact that purchasing and having a community that supports us in purchasing food for families makes this possible. This is not possible without that. And so when we're able to purchase, we're able to get the things that people ask for. We're able to have things that have nutritional value for a family. If at the end of the month you have nothing left for food and you come to the food bank, you're going to get something that is meaningful, both economically and nutritionally. And like I said, I don't want to create this good-bad dynamic, because redistributed food is important to us as well. But I want to be very clear to the level of service that we can provide through purchasing versus if we were to be able to only work with redistributed or rescued food, right? Sometimes I think we get so concerned about saving food that we forget to serve people. So all of these things here on the far right column, the frozen meat, the eggs, the milk, the dairy, the vegetables, the leafy greens, all of that gets to us because of the people in this community and because we purchase that food. It also allows us to do cultural relevancy. So it allows us to cycle in foods that are important to specific people that come to our food bank. The first job that I had assigned to me when I took over my position was to go and do a survey. And guess how many languages were reported in that survey? 28 different languages. So there's a huge need for culturally relevant food in our community, and our demographics, huge disparity between our demographics at the food bank and what people think the demographics of Bellingham, Whatcom County are. And so we can do things like make sure that there's food for our Slavic community, for our Latino community, for our indigenous communities, and cycle that in as if it's just normal to have these things available, right? And like I said, for redistributed food, nothing wrong with a cup of tea, nothing wrong with having like dehydrated potato flakes, very convenient for a lot of people. But we really are concerned of looking at the whole picture and making sure that everybody has something of quality that they can come to. And we don't work in a vacuum. So there are so many lovely other food banks here in our county, and sometimes people may not know about them. So I want to shout them out here. We're all independent organizations that all have our own rules, our own structure. And if you like donate, for example, to Bellingham Food Bank, that money goes to Bellingham Food Bank, not to other food banks in the county. But we all coordinate together in a number of different ways. And what we at the Bellingham Food Bank are concerned about are making sure that our work is also part of a network, a wider network that's responsive in emergencies, that cares for each other, and that bridges this huge divide that we have between city life and rural life in our county. Because the issues that are facing people in Point Roberts are very different than the issues that are facing people here, and yet they are the same. So one of the key features of our relationship is that Bellingham Food Bank is the warehouse that all the redistributed food from, like, let's say the USDA, WSDA, excuse me, my voice is getting sore. USDA, WSDA, and like Food Lifeline or Northwest Harvest, all of that food needs a place to go because it's hard to get that food out to a really rural area. So it all lands at the Bellingham Food Bank in aggregate, and we take that order for the whole county at once, and all of these food banks come to our warehouse to pick up what they had ordered. Thank you so much. And so that's kind of like the baseline of that relationship. If you have questions about that, let me know. And then I also, like, just for fun, there's an overlay here of our home delivery route. So all of these gray lines that you see, all those little numbers tagged on it, those are stops on our home delivery route. So I just really want to show you what that looks like. But all these people are quite lovely, and I'd like to give them a shout out. And then this here is a visual. So I said 10 to 14 different types of produce available on any day that we're open, so 3 days a week. And one of these bins here is called a Gaylord, if you've ever worked in warehousing. So this is called a Gaylord, and this came in on a truck from Charlie's Produce that morning. There were 6 Gaylords. What you see is our staff member kind of combining one Gaylord into 3 to make them kind of heaping and pretty, right? And so she's on a lift, lifting this up to dump into the other Gaylords. So we had 6 of those, that many green peppers, all from Charlie's Produce, lovely, we loved them so much. And that lasted less than a day. That's one item. So one thing I really like to show people is that there's an efficiency that's really valuable in our model. We got that semi-truck in that morning, and all that food went out that day. And we get semi-trucks in all the time. So we have a whole docking system and warehousing, like, it's very intricate. So really, when you look at it, we had our financial audit, 96% of our expenses went to our direct mission because of this efficiency, because we're able to just purchase food and move it really quickly. So it all goes to buying food and giving that food out to people. So thank you all so much for your support and for listening to me. And if you would like to learn how to deepen your relationship with Bellingham Food Bank, please let me know. I'd love to have you.
Good afternoon. My name's Chris Orr. I'm the Executive Director for the Whatcom Council on Aging, and I'll share a couple things. Some people in the room might say aging doesn't apply to me. We're all aging. So no matter how old you are, but our organization primarily serves older adults, and we're focused on serving folks 50 and up in Whatcom and San Juan counties. The other thing I'll share is that a lot of people think the Whatcom Council on Aging is a government organization, and we are not. We're a separate 501c3 nonprofit with a long history in this community that dates back to 1965, and we operate out of a county-owned senior center, the Bellingham Senior Center, but we are an independent nonprofit organization. I want to start out just by sharing some information about seniors and older adults in Whatcom County. And you can see that in the population, older adults folks over 65 account for 21% of the population, or 37% for folks that are 50 and up. And you can compare that to the state of Washington. We just have a slightly higher percentage of seniors in Whatcom County. And then a little more breakdown of that group. And to show the growth, there's 22% growth predicted for older adults in the county in the next 15 years. And then it's interesting to look at folks that are at or below the Elder Economic Security Standard Index or at or below the federal poverty level in Whatcom County. And so we do have a lot of seniors that are struggling economically, and a lot of folks on a fixed income and a place that's an expensive place to live. And we see that in our program participation. One age group in particular, I want to show some growth. We mentioned 22% growth for people that are 65 and up, but for folks that are 85 and up, we're looking at 207% growth in the next 15 years. So those are the folks, as I talk about our Meals on Wheels program and home delivered meals and other services, it's been referred to as the silver tsunami that's happening. Just a lot of people, we're living longer and we're needing more support later in life. One of the things I love about this organization is it's intergenerational. A lot of people come to the table to be part of it, but it's very heavy older adults helping older adults. And we tend to get younger folks, recent retirees, younger seniors, knowing they're going to need help later on, so they're doing their part now to help provide for others in the future. And this slide's just a summary of some of the numbers I've shared already, but just a couple other things I want to highlight. There's some national stats in here as well, but a couple that jump out to me are that 1 in 2 seniors nationally that are living alone are struggling to pay for basic needs. This is one I'm proud of. At the bottom, it talks about with the Meals on Wheels program, 1 in 3 programs nationally have a wait list. And to the best of my knowledge, the Council on Aging and our Meals on Wheels program has never had a wait list in this county. So we've been able to serve, much like the food bank, the people that come to us and have that need. And then just, I'll share that there are a lot of needs for our older adult community outside of nutrition. And honored to be part of a great group, a collaboration that's sponsored by Chuckanut Health Foundation called Aging Well Whatcom. And I won't talk more about that, but say if you want to learn more about that group, they've spent the last 8 years now developing a blueprint. The most recent draft came out in 2022 that talks about what does it mean to age well, and what's the blueprint for making Whatcom County the ideal place to age. And you can see the pillars that are foundational to that and the areas that they're focusing on. But health and wellness is a big part of that, and nutrition is obviously a big part of health and wellness. So again, about our organization, we are the Whatcom Council on Aging. Our biggest program by far is the Meals on Wheels program. That program is a 3-way partnership between our organization, the Northwest Regional Council, if you're familiar with that. They are a government agency. They are the local area agency on aging. And they do provide some direct services for seniors and resources. But they contract with our organization to provide the senior nutrition program for Whatcom County and San Juan County. And they're excellent partners. And then the other groups that we could not function without are the senior centers around the county. So the Whatcom Council on Aging operates the Bellingham Senior Center, but we partner with the independent senior centers throughout Whatcom County and San Juan County to deliver our program. And they're providing free access to commercial kitchens and dining rooms for us to be able to prepare and serve meals throughout the county. I could not do it without them. So there's a few goals around the Meals on Wheels program. Obviously, reducing hunger and addressing food insecurity is a big one. But I will share that just as important as food is connection. And I showed that stat earlier about how many people are living alone or in isolation. We all experienced that during the pandemic and the toll that that can take on you. And long before the pandemic, we've had a lot of folks in their home that don't have the social interaction and connection that we all need to some degree. Whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, you need to have connection with other people. So our program, whether it's home delivered or senior community meals, connection is at the heart of that. So promoting socialization, promoting health and well-being to older adults, and that can come in the form of connection with additional resources outside of nutrition or just connection with each other. And then delaying the onset of health conditions for older individuals. So we know the importance of nutrition to stay healthy. So our senior community meal program, we operate that. We use the Bellingham Senior Center as a central kitchen. And we do daily hot lunches in Bellingham and Blaine and Ferndale. And we cater up to Blaine and Ferndale on a daily basis. That's 5 days a week. 2 days a week, we are up in Point Roberts. And we also go to Sumas and Everson Senior Centers as well. Again, these meals are not only about nutrition, but connection. And the nice thing about having these lunches at the center is people that come for the lunch get connected with other activities and resources available for the senior center. And people that come to the senior center for those resources get connected with the lunch program. So they support each other's, and it creates a really dynamic community. And if you haven't been by the Bellingham or any of the other centers, we encourage you to come by. It is a vibrant senior community. It's also a great volunteer opportunity. So I mentioned earlier, a lot of people, especially when they retire, they're trying to figure out what's next. And this has been a great place where they're volunteering as drivers, helping in the dining room, leading classes and activities in the senior center. A lot of volunteer opportunities within our organization. We have 300 to 400 volunteers at any one point in time that are supporting our work. Our home delivered meals, or Meals on Wheels, are serving about 500 to 600 seniors in Whatcom County alone. And the difference there is we are doing a single delivery a week of 7 frozen meals to those folks. So they're getting a delivery of 7 frozen meals that they get to select off a menu along with milk and bread. I mentioned the connection. Our drivers are wonderful, and they build great relationships with the people on their routes. They really get to know them. So there is a social connection. When I volunteer to drive, if I have to sub, I'm a social person. I like to talk. They start getting panic calls back at the office saying, my meal's not here yet. It's what's happening. It's because I'm having coffee with the second person on the route. When they ask me to come in and visit, I want to do that. But you see that need for connection. And oftentimes, for a lot of our participants, this is the only person they're having an interaction with that week. So not just the social interaction, but also the welfare check. So as they find out about things that might be going on with this client, or see things going on in the house, or we've stumbled on situations where someone has fallen and been stuck for a day or two with no way to reach anybody, we're able to contact authorities or come back to our offices and connect that person with other resources. And all these programs, whether the senior community meals or the home delivered meals, are offered on a donation base. So there's no set fee for those programs. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So the eligibility, how do you qualify for this? The main one is you have to be 60 or older to qualify for a donation-based meal. Anybody can come to a senior community meal. You just have to pay the full price of the meal. And we'd love to have folks there. We love the intergenerational connection. But to qualify for a senior community meal, you're over 60. You do have to fill out a little form just to show that you qualify for that program. And we have a suggested donation of $6. The true cost of the meal is closer to $12. Our average donation is about $1.55. So I think that shows that not everybody, but a lot of people are depending on this for their main meal of the day and have limited resources to pay for that. A little different criteria for home delivered. So for home delivered, you do have to have some challenges in being homebound. Typically, you don't have your own transportation, or you have difficulty going out and shopping for yourself, preparing food for yourself. And so we have an intake process to screen people as they come in to make sure they truly qualify, and then an assessor that'll go do a home visit before we start them on the program not only to make sure they qualify, but to find out what other resources and challenges they might have in areas we can connect them with. And just to give you an idea of the amount of meals that we're doing, in our senior community meals in 2025, we did almost 73,000 meals were served through our lunch sites around the county, and our home delivered meals were almost 138,000. So we're just over 200,000 total meals that are being served to seniors in Whatcom County. You showed a great graph that this is very similar. So you can see that this program was growing long before the pandemic happened. But in 2020, you see the giant jump going from 99,000 meals up to almost 150,000 meals. And we haven't grown since that time, but we've stayed flat. So you saw in that last slide, we did 137. We've typically done between 140 to 150 since the start of the pandemic in home delivered meals. So that demand hasn't gone away. And then just where does the funding for that come from? A lot of people have the assumption that this is a government funded program, and we do have some foundational funding through the Older Americans Act, which is federal dollars, but those dollars have been flat for a long, long time. And just like everybody else, we're worried about the future of that program. And so right now, as the costs have gone up, we've been really blessed that the state of Washington has stepped up with some additional funding to help close that gap for us. But typically, between a third and a half of the funding for the program comes from government dollars. And then you can see the amounts for fundraising and foundations and grants. We're working every year to raise over $1 million to help support this. And the client contributions is what people are making when they're making a contribution towards their meal. That was actually our budgeted number of 400,000 last year. We actually brought in just over 300,000. So again, you can see that average donation is about $1.55. I think some of the best way to show the impact is to listen to the voices of our participants. And this is a survey we just completed with our home delivered clients. And you can see here we asked them to answer these questions on an agree, strongly agree, disagree. And for folks, when they said, hey, these meals improve or maintain my health, 93% responded agree or strongly agree. Continue to live at home, 83%. Have regular contact with people, 77%. Feeling less lonely or isolated, 74%. And then these ones are always a little tough for me when 75% of the people say, this is my main meal of the day that I receive. 70% say, hey, this is helping me to avoid going hungry. If I didn't have this, I would struggle with hunger. And 64%, only 64% are saying they have the resources to get the food they need. The rest of the folks are struggling with that. So those are just some of the survey results. And these were just some of the comments that came with the survey too that show both the impact and the challenges there. So I'll close with just ways that you can support this work. And much like the food bank, always an opportunity to volunteer. Probably our greatest volunteer need is substitute drivers. We have a great group of dedicated drivers that don't want to give up their route. But we have people that do like to go on vacation occasionally, and they do have health problems. And so we're looking for people to say, I can't commit to a weekly route, but if you need a sub for a week or 2 weeks, I'd be willing to jump in there for you. So we're trying to deepen our bench there. We typically have to pull a staff to sub in those situations. So we have a small staff team. That would be a big blessing to us. But lots of other volunteer opportunities in the dining room, in other areas as well. Obviously, donating, helping us close the gap between federal funding and what clients are able to contribute to help us make sure we're providing quality for folks. And again, much like the food bank, we've worked hard since we reopened after having it closed during the pandemic to offer more choice for people. So I'd say pre-pandemic, we were doing a lot of traditional meat and potatoes meals. But when we reopened, we knew that as the senior group grows, there's more diversity there. And so we're working to offer, every day we have a vegetarian option. Tuesday is vegan day. We're trying to expand our menu and our offerings to appeal to a more diverse group. One thing that everybody in this room can do is just to make sure you know your neighbors, and if there's someone there that you can check in on and help provide support for. So within our smaller communities, if we can all do a little bit, it takes some of the pressure off programs like this or supports programs like this as well. And then lastly, I'll share, if you come and tour the Bellingham Senior Center and see our kitchen, you'll be amazed at what we're doing with a very old and tired space. Excited to announce that our organization has made a commitment. We have acquired a new building that'll be the future home for the Bellingham Senior Center, and a kitchen that will be able to support making all the meals that we deliver right here in Whatcom County. And so we're looking for folks that have a passion for that, and we'd love to get you engaged. Thank you very much.
You. Thank you. Again, I'm Isabel Meeker, and I'm the Executive Director of Family Engagement for the Bellingham School District. And I'm here with Lindsay, Director of Food Services of our schools. I'm going to read a little bit because I have a strong accent, and I'm known to get stronger when I get a microphone in front of me. So I'm originally from the Dominican Republic, and Spanish is my first language. So I'm going to start by saying that the Bellingham Promise commits our community to caring for all children and to developing healthy and active individuals. And I know that some of you may say, what's the Bellingham Promise? And some of you in the right there can recite the whole thing. So the Bellingham Promise is our strategic plan, and it's just one page, and it was created with the entire community. So we are very proud. And one of the things that I like to say is, like, I witness every day how this plan really guides all the work that we do. In the Bellingham Promise, you can see that it states that all children should be loved and that the whole child is important. Equity and family engagement are two key strategies that we use to fulfill the collective commitment of the to our Bellingham children. And the value are infused throughout the food services and family engagement. And those are the efforts that we wanted to highlight today. We're going to start by just showing what our district look like. We have 10,500 students. So far this year, we start with 0 students experiencing homelessness. When we start the school year, we are up to 600, over 600 students in our system that are experiencing homelessness. We have many students that are multilingual. We have 74 different languages in our system, and sometimes people get surprised because we think that Bellingham doesn't have that diversity, but more than 74 languages. We support students in foster care. Unaccompanied youth is another number that has gone up in the past few years. Those are students in our system that have no guardians, no parents. They are on their own. We 30% of our students are qualified for free and reduced lunch, and Lindsay will talk a little bit more about that. And we have 23 sites that serve meal, and 15 of those sites are providing universal no-cost meals.
Spell. All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for the warm welcome. I'm Lindsay Ahrens, and I am the Director of Food Services for Bellingham Schools. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what we do during the school day to feed kids. We have a companion document to the Bellingham Promise, and that is our Good Food Promise. So this is a guiding document that helps us to navigate this world of school food. Some of the food values that are represented are to eat plenty of whole foods with lots of fruits and vegetables, limit salt and sugar, choose healthy fats, and then to limit artificial colors, flavors, and additives. So in the system, oh yeah, go ahead with that one. We are really focusing on equity and access and inclusion for our students in schools. So we provide school meals for any student who wants one. And in 15 of our schools, we have a system in which all of the students who are enrolled qualify for a free meal just by being enrolled at that school. That's a community eligibility. We love that for those schools because it means that we've reduced the stigma around free and reduced meals. Everyone qualifies for a meal, and it becomes just a very regular, normal part of the day. And then at the remainder of our schools, we have students that qualify for free and reduced meals by an income means, income eligibility in a number of ways. School meals in Bellingham really have been transformed over the last number of years, so with strong community support and some additional community funding through organizations like Whatcom Community Foundation. Bellingham established a central kitchen. We're one of just a few districts in the state that have a dedicated central kitchen to produce scratch food. And then we distribute that throughout our 23 sites that we have school meals. We do offer at our schools 23 sites, the National School Lunch Program. So that is the main source of meals for our students in schools. And then every site also has a school breakfast program. And then in the summertime, we also have services around meals for kids that are in our summer programs. And then we make those also open community sites for any community child to come and get a meal. That is a picture of our beautiful central kitchen. That was thank you to Bellingham voters who supported bonds and continue to support levies to help to supplement our funding. That central kitchen, by the way, we love tours. We love to have visitors. So love to bring people through and show them the work that's being done. Across our 23 sites, we serve just north of 1 million meals in a school year. So about just under 6,000 meals per day. I love this picture because it shows our beautiful salad bar. So one of the things that we really value is the opportunity for our students to have agency over the foods that they choose. Every one of our sites, except for our early learning center, they don't have a salad bar. They have lots of fruits and vegetables, but no salad bar. So every other site has a salad bar. And this really affords students the opportunities to select the foods that they would like to eat. And you can see those just gorgeous, vibrant colors, really wide variety of foods available for our students. That's a great picture just to show some of the food response that was done by the Bellingham School District during COVID. That is the See Home cafeteria, and those are multi-day meal boxes that were being staged, ready for packing and delivery. We still face some of the same challenges that we had during COVID. The supply chain continues to have disruption. Some of the labor challenges that are an outflow of COVID are still impacting our program, as well as some of the changes to the eligibility for families for free and reduced meals. So the 30% free and reduced number that you saw on an earlier slide only represents those students that formally qualify under the federal poverty guidelines. And they do not include, that number does not include all of our asset limited income constrained families who don't qualify on the eligibility scale, but still do need help to pay for school meals. So what happens for those families is they may participate, but they may be incurring debt. So that can be a challenge, or they may choose not to participate, and then those children aren't accessing the quality food that is available to them at school. I will say that Bellingham has an excellent policy to ensure that no child is ever denied a meal for an inability to pay. So we really believe that the cost of meals and affordability of meals is an adult issue, and we encourage students to participate. So if they come to the line, there's never a conversation with a student about whether they can afford a meal or not, or whether they have money in their account. They'll always be served that meal. And now on to Isabel.
One of the I'm going to take a few minutes to kind of clarify family engagement. I think that when we hear that, we hear the schools send messages to the parents and conferences, things like that. And I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about something that we have created in Bellingham that is very unique. I didn't know until years went by, but family engagement in Bellingham School District is beyond that. We have a team that takes care of families. We do home visits. We do a lot of work that is supporting our families. We truly believe that if we're gonna ask the families to care about what's going on in our schools, we need to know also what's going on at home, and we have to care about what's going on at home. And that actually opened the door to what we do now, because it's impossible to think that a child just I usually say it's not a creature that hatched in the parking lot. The child it comes to the school with whatever is going on at home. So knowing what's going on at home is extremely important to us. And because we learn what's going on at home, we then do a lot of caring, but we cannot do the work without the community. And I have to take this opportunity to say, I truly believe we live in one of the best communities. The generosity, the love that the community have for our families and our children in need is amazing. So we cannot do the work that I'm going to mention without the support of the community. This is just because I can talk about many, many things, but the families that we support is students. The federal program that qualify the students experiencing homelessness is McKinney-Vento. Last year, we ended the year with 976 students experiencing homelessness, which people don't think that that's happening in Bellingham either. So those students we support, those families we support. Students in foster care, immigrant families. I mean, I cannot be right here without, we all know what's going on in our country and in our community, and we have a lot of our families going through a lot of stress, and that is affecting our kids, and it's affecting, I keep telling everybody, it's like, I think I'm gonna get in front of the microphone and talk about how amazing our food bank is, because it's incredible what the food bank can do. We are very connected, and we know if a family is afraid to go out in the community, we connect with the food bank. We either go and pick up food for the family, or the food bank, if we are able to get in a delivery route. So that is something that we are dealing with right now, unfortunately. And it's to any family in our system that gets into any hardship, then they get referred to us. Unfortunately, a lot of the families that have never gone through anything are the ones that don't even know how to reach out, and are really sometimes embarrassed or don't even know about the resources. So we have a good system to find those families, and we have the Bellingham Public School Foundation that is a huge support for us, because we reach out to them, and then working with them, that's how we get our work done too. I wanted to just mention we have 2 family resource centers, and I'll say 50% of the time families go to the family resource centers and they're looking for food resources. What we are is like that in between. So the families sometimes need food immediately. So we connect with the Bellingham Public School Foundation, and they provide a gift card so the family can go and buy some food, or we go and buy food for the family and deliver that until we get the family connected with the food bank with whatever support the food bank is providing. Families, we always say families can come to the family resource centers for anything, and then we take it from there. If it's connecting them with other agencies, but it's the one place where we can say yes to any support that a family needs. And the same as everybody else, we how we do our work is with the support of the foundation, and we have a group of volunteers called Friends of the Family Resource Center that do incredible work too. But one call to action that is not going to take much, I'll say, is to talk to your legislators and advocate for free meals, for universal free meals in our system, because I think that will be ideal. And I don't know if Lindsay have something to say about that because she's more connected, but I know that it's a huge need.
Lots of information. So we're going to have questions now, and I think I'm just going to open it up to the audience because I can see people looking like they want them. Do we have? Yes, would you guys take a seat up there, and it'd be easier then, and to direct your questions to a particular person. And who has the mic? Oh, good. There's one mic there, and Jim's over here. So raise your hand, and raise your hand early in the season so that they see you. Okay, you want to start, Kit?
Yeah. I'm Peter Coggan. I work with an organization called Pacific Northwest Plateful, and it's based out of a catering business on Hannigan, run by an absolutely spectacular lady called Sarah Chan. That organization started 3 or 4 years ago by producing 40 frozen meals, mostly stews and soups each week, and we have now increased that number up to 840 meals a week. So
do you have a question?
I do, and the question goes to the lady from the food bank. We send you 150 meals a week, and could you please describe how you distribute those and how you make the choice about who gets a frozen pre-prepared meal versus an uncooked box of food?
Yeah, so the soups that we receive, so all of the frozen soups that we receive from Northwest Plateful, they go out on our distribution floor. So it'll go with all the frozen meat and all the other frozen items that we're giving out in that day. So it'll be offered about, if it's coming in every week, that 800 a week, there'll be 800 available on the floor for that day. Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess this could be for either Chris or Stephanie, but the charts you showed with the dramatic rise in the last 3 or 4 years, I know you were reluctant to get into that because you had so much else to say, but can you talk a little bit more about how you see what the reasons for that kind of immediate rise or this recent rise have been?
Excuse me. I think it was a combination for us of awareness of the program. So as more people were struggling during the pandemic and started looking for resources, they became aware of our program. And then I'd say what everybody's struggling with is just the cost of living increase, the cost of groceries, the cost of living in general is forcing people to make choices as they're looking for resources to help close those gaps.
And yes, the cost of living is, I think, the overwhelming reason. But then there's also, for our chart, it's a little unique because we didn't see our growth until after 2021. So actually in the height of COVID, we saw a slight decrease in visits. And that's mostly probably due to access because we were operating out of drive-throughs throughout the city, emergency drive-throughs. So I think access plays a role in it. Being able to have all three of our programs operating at the same time. The box programs happened because of COVID as well. So we see some changes because of access. We also see some changes because of cost of living. And we also see some changes because of the supply chain disruptions. And that's kind of a bigger topic to break down, but we could maybe go more in detail if anybody wants to take a tour with me. I can really break down some of those things that impacted how food is distributed in our country. And yeah, it's kind of a bigger macroeconomic thing.
Could you add to that how the controversy over SNAP benefits have affected you?
Yeah, so the month of November was the most brutal month I think I've ever worked in a job. Mostly for the fear, the intense fear that people, we as a food bank, economically we cannot replace what SNAP does for our community. SNAP, we're talking millions and millions of dollars on a regular basis. Like, there's no comparison, and so people were terrified, and everyone turned to the food bank as the de facto replacement for SNAP, both for themselves and for others. So we both saw tremendous generosity, but we also saw such alarm and fear and insecurity. And unfortunately, it's not over. You know, that could happen at any time again. So it is this like looming fear that people have, and it does deeply impact how they interact with us and how we are situated in the community as, in some ways, emergency response, but also in other ways as, you know, the one place that people can easily turn to for support.
Ken Gass, and I rise for a question from my good buddy Isabel. And continuing on the topic of terror, if you can address the extent to which immigrant families in the school district are either impacted by the loss of a parent or the fear and then perhaps not even attending school.
So I don't even know where to start. We have many families that have been directly affected. So we have parents that have been detained and deported, and the fear that has created. Parents are not going out in the community, so that means some parents that were getting some kind of income are not getting it. So it's just unbelievable, and the stress and the fear that parents and our kids are coming. I mean, I got a principal that called me yesterday and say, we have been working with this family because this parent went to an appointment. He said, I don't have anything to hide, and in the process of getting documented, and he was taken. So this family has been, and it's a beautiful family, I have to say, and has 4 children, and the little ones were crying yesterday at school. So the principal called me and said, hey, can I put you on speaker, and can you talk to him, because I have been at their home a few times. But I think that we will see, my biggest fear is like we will see the results of this stress that the kids are feeling right now. And, you know, it's going to be reflected in a few years, and kids not graduating their health. So it's like I say, I don't even know where to start when it comes to that. Because we have seen a lot so far, and the families are isolating, definitely. We have, where I show the 2 sites, and we used to have constant people coming through. The number has diminished to maybe 25% of immigrant families coming through the FRC. They call, we do a lot of deliveries, things like that, but people actually coming is not happening.
Hi, my name is Susan, and 2 years ago I worked briefly for the homeless outreach team as a nurse, going to the encampments. And one public thought at that time was no one should go without food in Bellingham. There's so much free food. However, when you look and visit these people under the tarps, they don't have a way to get to the food, whether it's the food bank, whether it's, they don't have an address. So I don't know who wants to answer this question, but what's happening today within the encampments of how people could actually get food?
All right. So actually, we have had encampments on our delivery routes before. And then things have happened so that either people didn't want the food to continue being delivered because sometimes people are really scared, right? They have a lot of things that are going on, and we have volunteers delivering our food. They don't know who they are. They don't know why they're showing up. Sometimes they're in different states of mind. So, and our volunteers are lovely. They go everywhere. And so we have done deliveries to folks that have encampments, and we will do deliveries to people without an address. We just need a place to drop the food off. But when it comes down to it, a lot of times it does go through our drive-through. A lot of folks come through our drive-through that aren't, without transportation, or like a lot of people who are homeless live in their cars, right? So we have a lot of people that don't like to be seen in public, and so they can use some of our other services as well. But there are going to be people that are missed. I will say, when it comes down to, like, one of the questions that I ask people in our surveys is, do you have a stove? Do you have a refrigerator? Do you have a freezer? Do you have a microwave? Because a lot of people take for granted how much money it takes to actually just cook food. And so those are questions that we ask. We ask people also about their housing stability. So we do have what we call no-cook bags that are available at the front of our grocery store. So if people actually manage to make it to the food bank, you can get a no-cook bag that's full of ready-to-eat food that doesn't require all of these other appliances in order to cook. And then you can go through the rest of the store and grab anything else that you need. So all the carrots and apples and, whatever else you can cook. And we kind of leave that up to people to decide, obviously, for themselves what they can and can't make. Sometimes people don't have access to a refrigerator, but they might have a stove, right? So that's kind of how we deal with that. But it's definitely not perfect. And there are a lot of people, like, living in hotels, for example, or, living in encampments that struggle to make it to the food bank, and then also struggle to cook the food that they could get there.
Yeah, I'll just add, we do have some limited hot routes for folks that we deliver hot meals instead of our frozen meals, because folks don't have the ability to store or reheat, but it's very small, not close to the need. And then a lot of folks do participate in our senior community meals. It was interesting, I'd say a few years ago, a lot of folks would come to the back door and ask for a hot meal, and that doesn't happen anymore. People are welcomed into our senior centers and part of that community. So again, when I say it's a vibrant senior community, it is everybody involved sitting at the table together. It's just wonderful. What I was shocked to learn during the pandemic, because we did the drive-up meals as well when we couldn't serve hot meals every day, our kitchen team continued to produce, and we had this, our parking lot looked like the waiting line for the ferry, as rows on rows of cars to come forward. But I was shocked how many people I saw on a daily basis on this in the senior center that I had no idea they were living out of their car until I was handing them meals in their car, and I realized all their possessions were in their vehicle with them. So that was a hard one for me to get my arms around, because I didn't understand the depth of that.
I've got the microphone over here. Sorry, I've got two questions on the senior center. When is that going to open with the new kitchen? And then on the food bank, you mentioned you do 900 families a week, and that is now capped. You aren't doing any more. Is that because you need more delivery drivers? So if you had someone volunteering 1 day a week, would that open up, I don't know, 10 more families for that? Thank you.
I guess I'll answer first. Okay. So yes. So if you are interested in home delivery driving and you are available on Friday mornings, we need you. This is our the one volunteer position that we offer that directly impacts the number of people we can serve with a program. There's going to be that 1,200 people coming through the door, regardless of how many volunteers we have to serve them. But when it comes to the drive. For the home delivery program, then that's really dependent on the number of volunteers that we can get to bring that food out. The wait list is right now is about 2 months, and people cycle in and out of this wait list. So unfortunately, many people pass away. And also we have people that maybe they needed it for a hip surgery or they needed it for a period of time. And then when they no longer need it, they go to pick up food when they can, or they go use the drive-through. So that list is actually more fluid than it might seem. It's not like this, it's full when you're done, you can't get on, you get put on the wait list and eventually you will get back onto that program. So it is fluid.
Okay, this is for the food bank again. Oh.
Can we answer her other question here?
Yeah, two answers to the question about the central kitchen. So the new building that we acquired is open as a second site for the Bellingham Senior Center. So we are doing classes there Monday through Thursday now. So everything that we struggled with in capacity at our current site or couldn't take place in the summer because we didn't have air conditioning is happening over there, and we're excited about it. The kitchen is probably 4 to 5 years away, depending on fundraising. So we are in a very quiet start of a capital campaign for the funds to build that kitchen.
Okay, this is for the food bank again. There are a lot of food drives in our community, and like churches and the mail carriers. And what I know about those food drives are you get mostly canned and dried goods. Would you prefer money over those canned goods?
So I'm going to answer this tactfully because I want everyone to know if you've participated in one of our major food drives, whether it's at the Northwest Fair or if it's with the mail carriers, or we have so many large food drives that happen. This model of food drives and food donations is a little bit more of the traditional model of food bank, pre-COVID model of food bank. So it doesn't fully match our model now, but I want you to know that all of your donations have so much value. So even if it may be, if you participated in those food drives, I want you to know that we appreciate and value your donation, and that gets sorted with lots of care and is distributed out to the community. When it comes to the most impact on the community and to be able to provide the nutrition and the fresh food that we offer, really the financial donations is where that is. It costs us right now, and this number fluctuates, but it costs us right now about $20 to provide a grocery shopping visit for a family. And you can't really do that by taking $20 and going to the grocery store yourself. And so that when I was talking at the end about efficiency of our model, that's kind of what I mean. It becomes much more powerful economically.
Yeah, Eric Sankey, I have a quick question for the Central Kitchen. I think that you guys probably prepare on an average of about 4,000 meals a day throughout the district. And these are all unique meals too, because what isn't eaten today can't be used tomorrow. You don't know when it might or ever be used. Now, I know that just with a family of 4, you try to plan for 4, try planning for 4,000. And this is sometimes, only 3,900 will show up, but maybe the next day 4,500 show up. So you got to be ready for whatever happens. So I would imagine that there is leftover food. And my question is, what do you do with that leftover food?
Thank you for that question. You're absolutely right. We have an incredible team at the Central Kitchen and planning and projecting participation for meals. And sometimes it's a bit of a guess. We always need to have a meal for every student who wants one. And many times, because we offer choices, that means that we've got to be carefully balance the amount of food that we have. When we have leftover food, we really only have, we're funded federally, and there are some restrictions about what we can do with our leftover food. There are three choices. We can throw it away, we can reserve it, or we can donate it to a 501c3. So I'm very, very proud of the partnership that Bellingham Schools has implemented with Sustainable Connections Food Recovery Program. And when we have food that is properly handled, cooled, and kept safe, then we can redistribute that to the food recovery program. And then they will in turn share that with members of the community who need it. We also really love our connections with the volunteers with food recovery that come through and do that good work of picking the food up and getting it out into the community. Thank you.
Hi. My question has to do with Whatcom County and how are we doing compared to other adjacent counties, Snohomish and Skagit, in terms of meeting the need? And maybe a second part to that would be, what's the biggest thing that any of us could do to help your organization?
Was that directed to the school district or any? The call to action that we added to our slide for the school district is important. Those of you who are compelled to connect with your legislators and lawmakers around universal meals, it's really a critical way to ensure that we keep these sustainable programs and have the best access and equity for students. We were all very hopeful during the pandemic when the system was implemented for no-cost meals for all students. And we really thought the tide had turned and maybe this was the time when that would be sustained. And unfortunately, those things were rolled back after the, I think around 2022, and reverted to the traditional models of free, reduced, and full pay by application. So the places that we see the broad universal no-cost meals really is the best way to feed students and to serve students.
How do we compare to neighboring or sister programs? I'll share that our neighboring county, Skagit County, made the decision this last year. They run the Meals on Wheels program for Skagit County. It's a county-run program. And they are ending that operation as of June 30th. So the Northwest Regional Council is looking for a partner, a nonprofit partner, to continue that program there. And we've been trying to help folks that are considering that understand what it takes and what the operations are like. So that's hard for me to see because there's such limited resources for older adults as it is. As to what people can do, I think just whatever combination of your time and talent and treasure you're able to share to help us out is just greatly appreciated. And again, I think it's just the opportunity to be part of a great community, whether you're serving meals in a senior community setting or helping deliver them to people's homes. You're just going to make great connections, and it's a wonderful opportunity to serve.
How are you making up, financially with these cuts from the federal government? I mean, that's an obvious one reason. And I'm sure Skagit has a bad budget, same as Whatcom right now in the state.
I forget who said it earlier, but this is just a generous community. And we've gotten in the last several years with a deficit budget, and every year people have stepped up to cover that gap and help us make sure that we never have a waiting list. And we had all the plans in place in 2025 to start a waiting list in January, and people stepped up to make sure we did not have to do that. So
And
Just-
to the rest, do you feel that way? Do you feel that way at the food bank?
Yes, I think that, like I said, one thing I didn't mention, we're the busiest food bank in Washington State.
Yeah.
So really, and I think, when we ask questions to compare ourselves to other counties or other cities, it is really quite difficult to make a good comparison. For example, in Seattle, they have a food bank in every neighborhood, right? And our food bank, while we are the Bellingham Food Bank, we really serve about, I think, over 60% of the county. As far as like food visits of food banks, we represent in total in that network about 60% of the food bank visits. So, and 20% of the population of the county. I hope that was clear. So when we're thinking about that, it's that scale of service. I think I mentioned on the wrap that wouldn't be possible if the community hadn't stepped up first. The response to COVID, if our community hadn't turned with trusting relationship with us, we wouldn't have been able to offer those box programs that now so many people use in isolation in the county, right? We wouldn't have been able to provide the level of service that we do now, the open 3 days a week, 8 hours a day. That's very unusual for a food bank. And so to be able to provide the things that we have is because of the generosity and connection and trust that we have in our community. I will say, though, I think I've been to enough of these conversations that usually every time I mention how many people we serve, people are shocked. And I think that also goes to say a little bit about the disconnection of our community as well, because we're serving about half of the Bellingham City population. So if it's a shock, then there's something else going on too. So I think there's more to build, and I am so thankful for all the support that we've gotten. But I think that there's more to build together to build that trust and build community.
Over here.
So going forward, it looks like we're going to still have a continued need. And, we have the programs like Fred Meyer, round up your money, which I think is great for them doing that. But can we Venmo the food bank? Is there electronic ways if we're having a good month and we just feel pretty blessed? Is there a way we can just bounce the money to you? Because I think going forward, that might make it easy and it gets done, I guess. So I'm wondering if us lazy people could have a way to help out a little bit.
Absolutely, you can Venmo the food bank. So
with a recurring gift.
Yeah, exactly. If you decide that you have an extra $50 every month to give, you can also set that up. But yeah, if you go online and you go to our website and you say donate now, the payment options at the end of the screen, one of them will be Venmo. And then I also always like to recommend the ACH because then it cuts out the credit card fees. So, yeah.
I have a question here. I'm Jane, and I have a question for Isabel. I was struck by, you said, I think 120 children living on their own. I would guess that they have needs that are a little different than others. Can you expand on that? And also how the community can help those kids?
About 120, I think last year we ended with 160 students. So those are students that sometimes they're not living on their own, but they are living with someone that is not their guardian. So it's mainly somebody that get dropped off at somebody's house and the parent is not around. We have some kids that the parents have been deported and they have stayed behind. And yes, those kids, we have to step up and make sure that they have access to healthcare and food and anything, and help supporting the person that is supporting that student. But we with the support of the Bellingham Public School Foundation and the Friends of the FRC, we get shoes. We have some staff that is really keeping a good eye on those students because they don't have a parent for them. But we are able to. What we are not able to is to provide everything that they need. So we have to go to the community and the foundation because they need, especially when they're in those teenage years, like they grow so fast that you see them one day and then the next day, their clothes don't fit. So we that's something that we stay on top of with the generosity of the community that supports the foundation and the Friends of the FRC.
I noticed that there was a group of people who nobody addressed yet, and I think this is directed mostly to the food bank, but to some extent the school district as well. What about folks who are age 18 to 25, 30? What percentage, if you have an idea, of the clients of the food bank fall into that, and what percentage of enrolled college students or at our various colleges fall into that?
Yes, so for young adults and for college students. So I just pulled survey data and I cannot remember the number to tell you, so I'm so sorry. I want to say like 15%, but I hope that's accurate. I was looking at a lot of numbers recently for that demographic survey. As far as like students go, we have also support with the Bellingham Technical College, the Whatcom Community College, and WW that all have their own food relief programs as well. So we have supported Whatcom Community College and Bellingham Technical College's individual food banks, food pantries, with our own part of our partner support program. So that one of the things that I hear or have heard from people is that they get a lot of students that can't really leave their campus very easily. Like they might not have transportation, or they might be international students. And so to have it on site at the school that they're already going to is really helpful. Also, I used the food bank when I went to college here, like over a decade ago. And I remember how difficult it was to carry all of my groceries from the food bank on the bus and move around with the groceries. So we try to support the students who are organizing their pantries and also the administration that is supporting the students in that. And then on top of that, we do have a lot of people that can make it down to the food bank and can come and use the service. And I go and talk to people to do, I guess, like promotional, because I think a lot of our college age students, especially at WW, they may not know that they are food insecure fully, because if you've grown up in poverty and you're a first generation student, you're gonna put your needs last. And tuition comes first, and your education and your future comes first, and people are basically gambling a large amount of money for a future. And so we have a lot of really food insecure college students that people don't turn to immediately as a group that needs help. So I will show people how to use the food bank and make I've worked with their campus student life center to make like, here's how you come to the food bank, here's how you use our support, and then also here's the student pantry and ways that you can connect with them as well.
Wow, a lot of things to think about. I've just read that 52% of graduates from Western said at some time in their 4 years at school they had been food insecure. That's hard to believe, but look what tuition is too. So I want to thank you all. It was a hard program to hear, but a good program to hear. And you all did a great job. So, you want to make some present for you?
I'm Jane Bright, for those of you who don't know me, and I have the honor of being the program chair. And I just want to thank Jane and Jill Bernstein, who's not here today, and our panel. I cannot stress enough how much work our panelists put into these programs and our program committee people who work on it. So thank you all. And for next month, I want to give you a heads up. Another program that Jane's worked on, we're keeping her very busy, is expanding healthcare options. And as you know, the costs of healthcare are going up. In Whatcom County, we have some healthcare deserts, both in terms of just access, getting to an ER, emergency care kind of thing, as well as types of service, hospice care, for example. And we're going to bring in an expert in what's called public hospital districts. These are services that are basically paid for and, if you will, managed by the voters. And they get a say in what it's going to be. And we will explain that. And then John Scanlon will be here to talk about what we're actually looking at within Whatcom County. So that's February 25th. March 25th, we're doing a program we're titling It's the Economy Stupid. And that will be with James McCafferty, and Hart Hodges, both from Western, and they have a business, I can't remember the title of it, but they will talk about the economy, big to little, whatever. It's one of those programs that's probably going to be, they're probably going to be working on it as they're sitting at the table before they get up, would be my guess. And we're looking at other programs that we're thinking about right now. One of them that we're thinking about is looking at the Nooksack River and some of the 100-year floods that's happening every 3 or 4 years, and both mitigation and prevention. So that we're tinkering with, looking at, but that's on something that we're actively looking at. And we would like to hear from you as to what your interests are. And also for some of you, you've received invitations to focus groups. And we're looking for 2 groups, one that predates COVID and predates the Bellingham Yacht Club. So those of you who remember Northwood Hall, and then those of you who are more recent, to try and get your perspective. So if you, we've targeted specific people who fit, both those demographics and who are frequent flyers to our programs. If you've gotten a invitation, haven't responded, please respond. And if you're interested in participating, I see somebody back there. Yeah, the surveys. Please let me know. I'll be hanging around for a few minutes here. But again, we want to hear from you. This is your organization. So thank you for coming. Thank you to our fabulous panelists. Whew. And thank you for being here. So take care. And please, and now, would you please bus your own table? Thank you.